Guys, we are in the south of France. We're in Aspremont. I hope I said that right. It's a little bit outside of Nice. It's not exactly Nice. The views, and I hope you're getting a little bit of it. You might not be seeing a lot of me. I really wanted you to kind of get the backdrop. My God, is she beautiful? What have I done so far? This weekend, today's Sunday, we're just chilling. This is the third day of our trip, or the first. Today's the second day of the trip. We got here on Thursday. Friday, we had a perfume making class. Wait, what's this today? Yes, we got here on Thursday. Friday was our first full day. Saturday, we had a perfume making class. And today is a rest day. We're not doing anything. Just enjoying the accommodation that we paid for, watching movies, me and the girls. Watching a couple movies, a lot of Marvel movies. Can I also just say, like, I used to be like a really huge Marvel fan growing up. Right now, I don't know what it is, what it's become. It's just changing into something else. But regardless, I haven't watched a lot of movies in such a long time. And today we were watching someone. I was like, I don't even remember what happened. And then I remembered. I'm like, oh my God. And then I was like, what is with me and like just like not going back to things? I don't know. I don't enjoy, I get invested in things that I care about and things that I'm passionate about. I get really invested. So I try to like keep myself at arm's length with the things that may not be useful or fruitful if they take up space in my mind, if that makes sense. So with friends, I'm ready to give all my passions out. With family, Baba, yo, you have it. Fashion, well, I'm trying. I think there are some things that I didn't place importance on, and the Lord is teaching me how to like reroute and prioritize and understand that like everything that I do has to flow from Him, obviously, but there must be things. Just imagine there's rain and there's loads of rain, but there's no seed. There needs to be loads of seeds, right, for there to be a harvest. I'm gonna say it that way. But yeah, I don't. I get very invested, so I was like, that's why I don't watch them because they do something to my heart. They really just get me pumped, and it's like I don't want to be thinking about the fact that all of them are no longer, or like the original cast are no longer alive, and that our DJ is now what's that thing? He's one of the new biggest villains, which is just insane to me. I don't want to think about that, so I just I don't. That's a little bit of what I did this weekend. Just like getting used to our surroundings. We live in such a beautiful area. It's a little hilly though. It's hard to navigate if you don't know where you are. But it's all right. What are we doing today? There's a couple things, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that really quickly. Enjoying the holidays so far. This me being on this holiday is a testimony in itself, but I feel like when it comes to sharing it and the conversation, my friend just came to check on me. When it comes to articulating the conversation, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet because I was doing my skincare and I was saying to Baba, like, do I talk about it yet? Are we like, what do I say? And I feel like it's not fully rounded yet. And my mentor was saying something to me that, when you're someone who the Lord, like, when you walk with Him a lot, you're going to have a lot of stories to tell. Sometimes it's wise to wait until you've finished the class. Not always, I don't believe, but because there'll be times when, you have to be vulnerable and have heart to hearts. And sometimes people just need to see the real and the raw. And I'm saying it's in friendship and whatever. But sometimes it's wise to round out the class or at least fully understand why a thing has happened so that you are not one painting Bob in a bad light, but also not contradicting what you have seen. So, well, that's for me personally. Also, just because Bob is not an author of confusion, you don't want to confuse people or anybody. So, yeah, I feel like I'm still kind of working through it and I don't fully understand. So I don't think it's time to share that. But me being on the trip is a testimony in itself. And I can't wait to share that when the time comes because I feel like this is something that we've been working on or that has been a thing in my life for a very long time. I'm going to call it a long-standing ailment because it's something that I believe the Lord needs to fix. And we are really like but we're boxing a little. I think a couple days ago we were talking. He was like, "You don't know how much I love you." Simultaneously, I'm seeing a picture of like, because you see, this is the thing. Whenever I picture Lord in my head, it's like he's obviously the king of the entire universe. So he is a king, and we live in the same house as my dad, my best friend. And so like he's teaching me to fence because kings have those types of sports. Like they just know how to do stuff. They know how to do a lot of things. So I'm the kid he's teaching how to fence. Now I see this picture of like angels like standing outside of the room, and it's a day-to-day task that we have, a day-to-day like thing that we share. And as the days go on, he gets increasingly brutal, for lack of a better word. He gets increasingly brutal. So funny. Why is it when I'm saying this that I can really, we're doing this. He gets increasingly brutal. And the angels, there's something about the way that they're observing. It's like they don't know what that feels like, because he doesn't need to turn them into himself. They fit into their own assignment, if that makes sense. So it's like they're not really like, they don't, it's I wouldn't say that it's pity. It's more so just like, I'm glad to be me. That's how I'm gonna say it. He gets increasingly brutal, and at one point he has me in like a headlock, because initially I'm refraining from giving him all that I have, because in my mind it's like, why would I be fighting with my father? But what I'm understanding based on this picture he's painting is that he's not my enemy, but he's also the strongest person on the battlefield. So he's the best person to train me, if that makes sense. That doesn't change the fact I'm annoyed at you right now, because I don't know, I'm feeling it. I'm yeah. That doesn't change the fact that we have something to talk about, or that I have something to get over with you. But anyways, this is the reality of the picture that is being painted. I have to wrestle. I have to be like, okay, but why? But why? Like, I have to keep knocking, even though he says that him and his children are sleeping in the room and he doesn't want to come out and it's late. I'm going to bug him until I understand everything that I need to understand, and so on and so forth. So that is by the by. By the title of this episode, you know that we are talking about love. I'm Nigerian. I feel like a lot of things are going to come from that perspective, because I think, first of all, I'm speaking to my people, but I'm also speaking to anybody who's alive, who's coming of age, and all that kind of stuff. I've mentioned this before. There are certain things that they're not limited to the Nigerian experience. I just happen to be a Nigerian experiencing them. And I feel like I want to give the lens first for the people who share this identity, and then for others who can also relate. But I think generally it's for everyone who has the ability to love, which is everybody. Yeah, I don't think that you can exhaust the conversation of love, seeing as love is a living and breathing personality. Love is a being first before it is anything else. So exhausting the conversation is not something that is possible, but I do want to touch on a couple things within it. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to start like this. You see, initially I was so like, ugh, why would he ask me to talk about this? But now I'm so calm about it, I think. So let's get into it. I have been single since the spring of 2021. That makes it about 4 years that I've been single. 4 years. 4 years single, but 3 years intentionally. The first year, I was still, I don't know what was going on, and it wasn't that I was even dating. I just didn't know. I didn't know, full stop. So 3 years of intentional singleness, I think very much God mandated. He just wanted me to himself. And I'm actually so grateful for that, because, oh my God, women need God so bad so that he can show them what it looks like to be loved upon. Just to change the framework. Oh my God, it's necessary. It is so necessary. Also, so you know what it looks like what a man actually looks like. Yes. A man drawn up, created. So I just keep staring because it's so pretty. If you're listening to this on Spotify or on Apple Music, whoa, you need to watch it on YouTube. please. And if you do, subscribe. But that's my. But I never actually say those things. Oh, like, subscribe, da da. To be fair, this is the third episode. We'll get there. I guess I might as well say, if you're watching this on Spotify, give me a follow, or listening to this on Spotify, give me a follow on Apple Music or on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I want to talk. Let's yap it up, please and thank you. It's important to get to see a man from God's divine perspective. There's something that looks like. I think seeing God in men is one of the most beautiful things, and I feel like I've been blessed to see that consistently in my relationships, my parents, my siblings, my friends. Wow, it's a beautiful thing to behold. Even people I don't know. But regardless, it's a beautiful thing to see God in a person, and God refined, as in Baba's had the chance to be like, oh, you see that you are a God. I'm going to show you more so what that looks like in your context. It's important. Anywho, been single, met a couple people, nothing ever stuck, right? I would meet someone and immediately be like, sir, how do you feel about this? And he would not waste his time in saying nothing. And when I say nothing, it's more of a thing of, when you spend a lot of time with someone, you become familiar with their gestures. So it would usually be a thing of like, he turned his face like, this baby's not serious, or like he just won't respond. And then I know that like, oh, I've been aired actively. So it used to be things like that. I think there was only one time where he ever said to me, you really don't know what you deserve. You deserve more than you think you deserve. And I could see the pain in his face, and I was like, oh, is it that bad? Anywho, that was also like maybe 2 years ago that happened. Been single. I've always had high expectations. My father is a wonderful man, and then topping that off with the Lord is like, who am I going to marry? And that's when I started to say that I didn't want a man, I wanted a God. And people might react to that as they want to. But when I think about a God, I think about someone whose mind, heart, body has come into the understanding of who they are in Christ. So I'm not saying someone with a God complex, because them niggas be going through it. It's so hard to meet someone who is fighting through insecurity and inferiority on the outside instead of within. Right? I'm talking about actual gods. I want someone who knows where they sit. I want someone who understands the seat, the weight of it, things of that nature. And I'm not saying someone who's fully established. We're always growing. The light shines brighter and brighter onto the perfect day. All of these things, we're always evolving, to put it in simple terms. So I just want someone whose heart is consistently malleable and understands the technology of being like the wind, and how out of control life can feel sometimes, and how organized the chaos of an abundant life can be. I feel like I'm using a lot of big words, but you get it. You do. You understand. You're clocking. I wanted that. So what that meant for me, what I thought it meant was that I would sit in my house and wait for my father to drop my man, okay, with a stork, bam, in front of my door. Either that, or just, I have high expectations for the meeting process. So I wasn't interested in dating. Because every time I meet a man, in 2 seconds, I can already tell whether this is something, or it could be something or not. I also live in a small city. Some people call it a town. I call it a city, okay? She's small, but she's beautiful. I have no expectations for that place. None at all. So, yeah. Me and the Lord have had conversations about this topic, about marriage, about meeting the right person. That we've had conversations. So I had decided that I was just going to chill until everything just came to me. And then I think in August of 2024, one day I'm going on a walk. It's one of my niece's dedications. I have nieces and nephews by naturalization. We're going on a walk one day, and this man goes to me, I want you to date. That was all. He just said, be open. I said, okay. I didn't agree, of course, initially, because, sometimes, not that I didn't even agree, it hadn't settled in my mind. And Baba, he lets me see him, right? So when he said, I said, okay, we'll think about that, wait. So initially, the first day after, I'm like, I can do this. And then later on, I'm like, date who? Who? So I battled with it for a little while. And then one day I met one of the loves of my life, one of my friends, beautiful girl. We're having a conversation, and she was like, listen, if he said it, just do it. Had a conversation with my mom. She was like, if he said it, do it. So I was open. Okay? The Lord has also said to me that he hadn't called me to the type of story where it would happen in a way that was almost too recognizable as supernatural. He said that he would insert the supernatural into the natural for me, which has been my life pretty much up until this point, but more so in this regard, because the people that he has called me to share my life with will not have one of those supernatural experiences where someone's like, where someone is dropped from heaven. Basically, that was kind of the convo. Then I met someone. Let's just call him Ben. I met Ben. Ben was a lovely man. We would hang out in the same circles, not entirely my type, but I was fond of him. He was lovely. I didn't take him in, right? I just thought, this guy is so, like the vibe when we're around each other was cool. And then I think we had gone out once just to get to know each other better because we knew everybody else, like individually, but not ourselves, basically. So we went out. It was chill. I get back home. One of my roommates, my dear friend, I'm telling her about it. And she's like, oh my God, the only reason that you don't want to do this because you're prejudiced against it. Basically talking about some things on my list that I had. Mind you, this video is not to tell anybody to drop their standards. In fact, it is the opposite. The greatest opposite. Let me say that first. Disclaimer to the men and the women. If your standards are dictated by the Lord, there is nothing to drop. It doesn't matter what they are. Please and thank you. This is not what this video is about. I'm just telling you the story. So she's like, oh, you're prejudiced, kiniko, kiniko. I said, babe, I don't even know this man. He's great, but I don't even think that there is anything there. I'm not going to impose or assume. Relax. And I told her, listen, you know what? If we do go out again and there is something, I will let you know. I think that was it. And then we had a friend's birthday or some event come up. And then I heard Baba say, ask him, because we had discussed like doing something else. So Lord was like, oh, just ask him if he'd like to. I say, oh God. I started getting afraid. Why are you asking me to continue? See, it's one thing if I wanted to continue. It's another thing if Baba's like, oh, stirring the pot. I was about to say I don't trust that man. I do. I trust him with all my heart in Jesus' name. But it's just like, why? Why are you involved? Why do you care? What is this about to be? Because I know my father as well. He stays writing stories. He stays painting pictures. I know him. So that's why I was afraid. I asked him, nevertheless. So we went on that date. It was magical. Nothing short. It was magical. Full stop. I'm going to give you a couple reasons why. And I'm going to tell you some things that I learned about Baba from that experience. It was magical because there was something cosmic about it. There was nothing forced. Nobody opened their mouth to come and say, I perceive. No perceiving of any kind. We were with one another, spending time together, just talking about natural, normal stuff. And in that conversation, I got to see Jesus. And I'm not even talking, he didn't tell me, I climbed the mountain. I've been waiting on the Lord and this. No. He just told me about the things that the Lord worked on in his personality. And he wasn't even specifically, that wasn't the start of the conversation. It just kind of came up as we were talking. I feel like I'm talking too fast. It just kind of came up in conversation, right? We talked about high school, secondary school. We talked about life, parents, just life. We talked about emotions. We talked about everything. He also coincidentally is like in the science field. And I like to talk to people who do that kind of thing because they just have a lot of interesting perspectives. It was so much fun. Smart man. Wonderful conversation. Wonderful time. I don't think before that moment I had felt anything for him. Or maybe in my mind I was like, he's nice, But the switch, my God. I actually started to shake. When it had been a couple hours, we're still chilling, we're watching a movie. I said, Father, I commit into your hands, I commit my spirit. I started to shake. I was like, but what the hell is going on? What's going on? What's going on? I'm actually afraid. And then he's like, will you relax? Like, you know, this is what emotions feel like. Mind you, guys, please remember that too. I've not been dating anybody. I've been out of that sphere. I've been out of experience. I haven't felt that in a long time. And funny enough, I'd say a couple of days before that happened, I had just mentioned to the Lord, oh, it's so crazy because I was saying to him, I was like, I don't even know what it feels like to love a man romantically because it's been so long. The only person that I have those types of run-ins with frequently is you, Baba. I don't know anybody else. Like I was just mentioning it in passing. Just for this man to wire me with this. Now, mind you, the morning of the date, I and one of my friends that lives in Canada, my sister, we were praying and we were having a conversation. And Baba took us to Genesis and we're reading through Genesis 1 and 2. And we were talking about how basically Baba was saying, showing us how in Genesis 1 we get to see him think up the world. So he hadn't even spoke, he had decided to make it, but the reality hadn't come into play. Please read your Bible. You know, every time I've read Genesis, I've gone something different. Every single time. But it was such a beautiful revelation. And one thing he said to us, and it's something so simple, but I think it's something that's important to share. He was like, obviously talking about now Adam and Eve and eating the apple and, you know, doing what they weren't supposed to do. He said she could have waited for me in the cool of the day. She knew that I came every day to spend time with them. He was like, the issue wasn't even the suggestion. It was that there was no faith in him. Faith in him that whatever her identity was, whatever Satan was suggesting, she already had. There was no belief in his character. And this is the first time I'm actually voicing that. Because for me, I've always just carried it around in my head. She should have waited to the cool of the afternoon. That's all she needed to do. All she needed to do was wait. And so he was saying to us, there are things that we have thought of together, things that we've spoken about. And there's no physical manifestation now or yet. And so there will be suggestions. Wait for me in the cool of the day. There is no rush. This is your world. This is my world. It's our world. There is no rush. There is no need to make any decision until you have heard from me. So we went on the date. It was magical. Wonderful. It was, anywho, let me not talk too much. It was great. Get home literally like the next day. And I'm just saying to Baba like, oh my God, da da da. And this man with the most thunder, Baba don't be shouting at me. Because me, I listen. I'm very obedient. He don't be shouting. No. You guys need to hear it. No. Now, understand that there's a difference between anger and jealousy. The jealousy of the Lord should bring out adoration from you because it shows how far he's willing to go for your sake. That's what I believe. So when I heard him, I said, it's okay, calm down. Calm down. Why are you shouting? Why are you shouting? That's literally what I said. Because what is it? It was just it. And you set this emotion anyway. Of course, that was that. We're still going on. I've not finished the story. But that was that for the most part. Baba said no. And then I said to him, okay, cool, you said it to me. Please relay the message to him as well. I just want to know. That same day, in the evening, I think I had messaged him. We were messaging back and forth, and he was like, actually, I can't continue this conversation until I say this to you. Yeah, I said, ugh, whatever. And I was like, damn, but I already kind of like this man. And we run in the same circles. How are we going to work through this? That's a different conversation, but I'm going to share a couple things that I learned. Baba is fully capable of bringing to you the person that he has for you. There is not much work that needs to be done in terms of finding, but there is much work in making. You need to be the person that you need to be so that they can't miss out on you. If we think about Rebecca was already Rebecca. Giving the camels water was not something out of nature that was out of her nature. She just did it. It just so happened that when the appointed time came, she was who she was. And so less about the finding, more about the making. That's one. I'd say another thing that it taught me was that the woman that the Lord promised me that I would be, I am becoming her. when I first met him, he said to me, the next time that you're in a relationship, that you're dating someone, you will be yourself. You won't have to overcompensate. You won't have to. That was the promise he made me. And so being open to dating in obedience to him showed me that, oh, I am that woman. And I love it here because, like, when I tell you, at no point was I overly perceiving myself to make sure that who he saw, that's this man, was perfect or was good enough for him. The peace, the peace, the peace, the confidence, everything. And yeah, it was beautiful. And it was also beautiful to see in the dating space someone who has the spirit of the Lord, because I feel like the connection, it was like a house on fire. She'll get it just caught. And I feel like it caught not just because we thought alike and we had like conversations that made sense, but I feel like there's something about the beauty of the Spirit of God. And I'm not even saying, oh, because we both had the Spirit of God, we were compatible. I'm saying when the Lord has the time to cook you, it is easy to enjoy another person that he's also cooked, if that makes sense. That's why I feel like there's a conversation that I hear a lot, and this is not to deny the fact, but it's also to bring a different perspective. A lot of people that I hear that enter relationships who are like godly, who have relationships with God, they always say, it was in marriage that I learned patience. It was when I met this man that I learned that I da 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 da. It was da 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 da. Can I submit to you that maybe the reason that we learn such basic things, I'm not married, though, okay? And so, my mind may change, but I don't believe that it will, genuinely. Can I submit to you that the reason that sometimes we learn such basic, easy things in a marriage is that we were not patient enough to be first married to the Lord and to sit and graze in his own garden? Friendships can teach you patience like you've never taught before. Relationships with your family can teach you patience. God himself can teach you patience like you've never seen before. I don't think there's anybody else you need to be as patient with as the Lord. Now, of course, he doesn't have character flaws and he doesn't repeat mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So in certain areas, he may be easier to deal with. But he is also a pusher and a stretcher and a father and a God and a king. Patience is necessary to be anything great when it comes to the Lord. So I'm using that as one example. I think that there are many things that are basic, especially when it comes to character and personality, that God can teach by himself. One thing that was very apparent to me when I met that man and got to spend time with him was, even if any issues arise, I can see how we'll work through it because I see the spirit that you have. I can see how this wouldn't be an obstacle. I can see it. I can see how the fact that your toothpaste, you pressing it from the bottom and me pressing it from the middle, won't be an issue. I can see that because I have had, one, I live with other people. Secondly, Baba has subjected me to having to become the person I'm meant to be. I don't believe that if Jesus was alive, I mean, he is alive, hello, that if he had a human body, as in him, well, it's hard to kind of separate those things because I'm his human body, but like, you know what I mean. Will he be fighting over toothpaste with somebody? No, I don't believe that. I'm not speaking of perfection here. I'm not saying that people can't have outbursts. You know what I mean? You get the general conversation. I think I need to read it in a little so everyone understands that I'm not even trying to say, oh, we need to be perfect, or like, oh, you can't have outbursts, so you can't be angry. That is far from what I'm saying. More so, I'm speaking about the fact that the things that sometimes we place the weight of sanctification on, these are things that in a heartbeat we could learn if we considered oneness with God something more than just a ticket to heaven. There's too much work to be done. I need to become him like mad. Like mad. Anywho, taught me. I think another thing Wait, I wanna finish all the things that were sweet and cute and lovely first. The sweet and cute and lovely stuff. Like love is beautiful. When the person is they are sane in the head, not when your body's doing jan 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 jan. Vulnerability is one of the most attractive things in a man. Whoa, vulnerability, self-control, Jesus, basically. But oh my God, to see that in a real live man in my generation, because listen, that was another thing. I believe that yes, the man that God has for me existed, but also it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Another thing is that just because somebody has the Spirit of God, just because someone loves the Lord, doesn't mean that they're the person for you. Personalities are still a thing. And I don't enjoy the idea that like, oh, just because two people are sons of God, they can get it down. That's insane. I think there's still the beauty of individuality that exists in us being sons of God. So getting to meet someone that obviously loves the Lord, which is like I'd say 80% of what I need, because there are other things that I need. It's the larger part of what I need. That already was like, oh my God, like your mind. And then on top of that, just be as in I've seen the Lord work on the mundanities. I'm seeing it. The result of you letting him work on the little things. 10 out of 10. Wonderful. Please, oh, this man is not perfect too. It's just that when you see things and you see a beautiful thing, I don't think you should hold back in talking about it or expressing it. Because every day we're talking about darkness. There's so much light. That's done. Now to the come down. Obviously, when Baba said, no, I've already met this man, I like him, and vice versa. Having to keep the no taught me a couple things. The first thing, sorry, before that, Baba used this part to teach me that, like, strength in situations of attraction hardly ever looks like bruteness. Shoulders up. No, I said no, I'm not doing it. You're going to have to run. You're going to have to crawl. You're going to have to nervous laugh and be like, actually, yeah, I don't want to sin against God. Thank you. You're actually going to have to take the way out. You're going to have to flee. Because think about it. We are made of, the essence that we are made of is love. Do we not think that that is the one thing that could shatter all of our morals and intelligence and value systems? People are dying for love. People are scratching people's cars because they've experienced love, but not in a pure way. Love is the fabric of the life that we live. So it's like, if you think that when it comes to matters of the heart, you can just stand up from the war ground and just walk off. And I'm saying that to say grace must be given. Because a lot of the time you're not going to have what it takes to feel like the strong one. And you don't need to, because again, his strength is made perfect in our weakness. So we can experience his strength in our strength. But it is the most perfect. It is the most potent when we understand our weakness. It is the most potent. I think the way that we sometimes describe things takes away from the power and the purity of those moments. You choosing God when your body literally cannot do anything but push you in the direction that he doesn't want you to go, that is power inexplicable. It doesn't matter how it feels. That's what he taught me. Weakness is a gateway to strength. Weakness put into the hand of the Lord is a gateway to strength. Do not be afraid of it. I also say this to say, sexuality is part and parcel of our being. Oh my God, there's actually something I forgot I wanted to read to the girls. I've been reading this book recently. Baba wanted me to read it. A friend of mine had suggested it to me. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna read the book. It's called God is a Matchmaker. Oh, I have to find the page. This is Derek Prince. I'm gonna read it to you. Over the centuries, the church has often failed to represent the Bible's picture of total marriage as embracing every area of the human personality: spiritual, emotional, and physical. Sex has been treated as an unfortunate necessity, almost an aberration of the Creator, which requires some kind of apology. Certainly, that is not the Creator's own view. He created man and woman, sexual beings, and then, after careful inspection, pronounced everything very good, including their sexuality. Today, around the earth, God is visiting and renewing His church by the Holy Spirit. This renewal must be heralded as divine renewal has always been, by the voice of the bride and groom. That's all, actually. I don't need to read more. I pray that for our generation, we will come to a place where we understand that if we continue to treat sex like something, that sex and sexuality as something to avoid or to only do in the darkness, we will miss out on the true beauty of it. It's normal and it's natural. Baba put it there. There's something so holy about it. And if we do not give it what it deserves in terms of light, conversation, vulnerability, it will swallow us up like it has done many people. And so I'm going to use this example because this is how I see it. We've all watched After the Last Airbender. When the water comes at them, if they got thrown a punch and they received it, if they understood that it was something to glide through instead of push back on, they were able to wield whatever the power of the thing was and then release it. And I learned this actually from Apostle Roman. Lust comes like a wave. And he would always say that the spirit of lust has pride. If you focus on it, right, you're trying to like push it back. No, I can't feel this way. It becomes a problem. Because it's not a problem until it's handled badly. So if you have ever experienced any kind of like sexual feelings about someone, the way that you choose to handle it is what makes it, basically. I personally, one thing that I always do is that when I feel any type of way, I will tell Baba, hello, the body that you made, it ain't agreeing with what we're supposed to be doing right now. Do something. And I literally, I open myself like this. I'll say, Father, I beg you, what's the story? Either I say help or I just relay it to him. I just say, this is how I'm feeling right now. I think that person is da 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 da. I just say it. Oh my God, I was thinking about this man today, but help me. Simple and short. Give it to the person that created it. Anyway, he's the reason that, listen, give it to the person who created it. That's my motto. Anyway. And that's why I see it as like water bending of some sort. You take it, you do like this, you release. Simple in my mind. Yeah. So sexual attraction is a beautiful thing. And if handled with the care and understanding that it needs, we all end up getting the best out of it. Now, onto the come down. I found it very hard to shake it off. I had come in contact with many men before, and there was just nothing. I found it hard to shake this one off. Because the way that we jammed, it was unexpected. I really did like him. And I just thought that, like, if I just ashbrakota sapalana, everything will be fine. In fact, when I was speaking to the Oga that is the orchestrator of this thing, do you know what this man told me? Baba goes, you are expecting a rod. I will give you a channel. He showed me like a bamboo thingy. I will give you a channel to come out. And I said, it's sounding as if the rod would be better because I know you. This is going to draw a little bit. It's going to drag. And I know you. It would be different if there was continuity, there was a future. There was none. Baba said no, full stop. and to both of us. So having to work around the no, having to obey when my body is actively not wanting to is crazy. But listen, this is the thing, and this is what I believe. Bob is the most important thing to me. I will do whatever I have to do to make sure that I keep his word. Right? There are many people who have come to this type of juncture and forgotten who put them here. You understand? They forget the journey, they forget the romance, they forget the rhythm, and they settle for something that didn't belong to them. And then it's a problem, right? Obedience can come with pain. When we choose to do what Baba wants, we have to be willing to steward the reality of it. We have to be willing to steward the reality. Because it's not always going to be fun. And I'm not saying this is always the reality, but in this case, it was quite painful to get through. It helped me see Jesus on the cross for real. Yes. I've been reading another book called The Romance of Identity by W.E. Kenyon. And it's very graphic. It really goes deep into the reality and the story of what Jesus did. And I think that's been an important thing for me to take in, because I really want to understand what I've been given, right? Jesus had all the power to remove himself from that cross. Not only remove himself from that cross, remove himself from the problem, the work. He had it. He had it, but he chose to obey and undergo the pain to finish what it was that the Lord gave him to do. Am I saying that this and a quote-unquote heartbreak are the same? No. But I believe that it just taught me to see him more. I'm someone who I always expect Baba to teach me something from anything that's happening. It doesn't matter what's happening. I just know that there's a story coming. There's beauty coming out of it. He showed me the weight of obedience. Because the guy is right. He lives only I can take a bus. I can do anything I want. But I have chosen. It is a choice. And I feel like that's what separates God from things that pose as God. You have to choose. And in choosing, he opens up your humanity to you. The human spirit is so powerful. Whether we're talking about people who don't yet believe in the Lord or people who do believe in the Lord, there is a lack of understanding of our complexity. Actually, in the book, God is a Matchmaker, I've only read the first chapter. Ooh, he goes into detail. God bless Derek Prince. He talks about how complex we are, how complex the human mind is. Mind you, this is something me and the Lord have been talking about from before I read this book. I only started a couple days ago. The complexity of the human body, mind, spirit is not something that you can digest in 70 years, which is why you need an eternal being to make sense of it. You need someone to put the pieces in together. And because we do not understand our strength, a lot of the time we are swallowed up by our lack of understanding. When the Bible says my people perish for lack of knowledge, it's not just knowledge of God, but it's knowledge of God within you. There's a conversation that happens a lot about dying to self. And I feel like because we say it so much without understanding, we don't understand that we're speaking about the nature of self as opposed to the actual person. There's an Ol'edo that existed in eternity before she was born into iniquity. I am now meeting her in the flesh, but she already existed. And so understanding God means that I will also come into the full understanding of that person, right? Whoever she is. The human spirit is so powerful. Love is so powerful. If we do not know our capacity, if we don't let the Lord open it up, break apart, tear the veil, whatever, and help us, introduce us to ourselves, we will cave under the weight of emotions, of uncertainty, of the vastness of our own minds. There's so much space. that needs to be filled and probably will never be filled. But the point is, that's how you know that we were made for eternity. If we were made for 70 years, shit, he will cut things down small, small. No, 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 no. No, he won't. He didn't. That was not the plan anyway, you know? And the scripture that I'm reminded of is the Lord has placed eternity in the heart of man, in the heart of man. We are meant to be eternal and transcendent beings. And so even though we are now in a body that will one day be transfigured, and so our lifespan is shorter, it doesn't change the fact that we still exist in this predicament. We are meant to be eternal. And so everything that we do, our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, they come from a place that is beyond the journey that this flesh will travel while we are in it at this time. I hope that makes sense. And I'm gonna try to tie it back to what I've been saying. The human spirit is powerful. So anything that comes from it, emotions, affection, all of these things, if we do not understand the power, we can't bend it. We can't work through it. Does that make sense? So the emotions that I had concerning this man, they were a lot. And there were many days where I was like, sir, why you go do me this kind of thing? And another caveat, a lot of people might be like, why would he do that to me? Listen, from jump, I said to Baba, I want you to take me on adventures. Anyway, I go and take me. We've slowed down small now because there's a lot on my plate. But I wanted to journey with him. Now, that will mean different things for different people. There's much to share. There's much to write. There's much to talk about. And I feel like this is something that, a conversation that we have a lot in our day and age. It's something that we're more open to having. And I just believe that it's been a blessing to share in the burden of the Lord and to see him more in this regard. It's been an experience that has taught me much. It wasn't a punishment, even though some days felt quite punishing. I felt the weight of my heart many times. It wasn't easy, but I've learned so much. The burden of obedience, I feel like I want to really buttress that again, because I feel like the day that it came to me, I had said something to the Lord about how this is hard, but I will do it regardless. And all I could remember was Jesus saying to him, if it's possible to take this cup. He had to bear the weight of the obedience, even though what he was doing was not for himself. Jesus has been exalted. He finished his work. He did it well, but there was pain that came before that. Another thing that has become so real to me is that the death of Jesus was nothing. There was nothing about that was easy. And I'm sure some of you be like, duh. No. The picture they paint for us in the movies, it doesn't do it justice. No. It was brutal in every sense of the word. And I think it's important that we etch that into our minds. He died in pain. Overwhelming amounts of pain. Overwhelming amount. Like, there was nothing. When they finished beating him as he was hanging from the cross, his organs, like, you could see them. You couldn't actually differentiate between whether he was a man or a woman. There's a need for us to paint a picture that is graphic, so we understand that this wasn't I'm a savior, I'm powerful, I'm gonna just die. No. I'm gonna leave that alone so that I can get through this episode. The point is, obedience comes with a burden. If you do not actually love the Lord, right? If you do not actually love him, if you do not believe, trust him, it won't be worth it. Because it's not as if now that I've said no, somebody has appeared and single as a Pringle. Single as a leaflet of paper, single. But that's not the point for me. I will do whatever I must to preserve my eternity. And I'm not even talking about heaven. I'm talking about my one. I am of one spirit with the Lord. He's my entire life, my entire identity. Everything else can kick the bucket. everything else. And that was something that this taught me in a deeper way. While all of this was happening, he asked me to read the book of Hosea. If you've read the book of Hosea, the opening chapter, it says, and the word of the Lord came to Hosea, and he said, take of yourself a wife of prostitution. Because the children of Israel are prostituting themselves. I'm paraphrasing. When this has started and he asked me to be open to dating and everything, and we went on the date, and then he said no, I said, Lord, what are you doing? And that's where he took me. So he was trying to show me what it looks like to be in his shoes, to be in the shoes he's walked in, to be the overseer of those shoes. I don't know if that's making sense. But basically, when you read through the book of Hosea, obviously Hosea could understand the Lord more because he was living it. He was the perfect man to advocate for the people, because him and the Lord, they shared something. They shared the pain of love lost. They shared the pain of infidelity. So I think Baba wanted to share with me the height of emotion. More than that, I also got to see that emotions a lot of time are messy. The picture that I got was, imagine a surgeon working on someone's body, and it's like maybe open heart surgery, abdomen, whatever. I reckon that thing doesn't look pretty. The blood is running everywhere. The organs, like, it's dark in there, it doesn't look pretty, probably doesn't even smell great, but everything works perfectly as it should. And if we do not learn to wield it, if we are afraid of it, if we do not come into contact with it frequently, we will be at a loss. I feel like a lot of us have not evolved as much as we should because we haven't given the emotional part of our brains a chance to thrive. So we are always blowing a short fuse, doing things and not being able to think about it because we don't let ourselves, we don't let it ride. We don't let it wash over us, right? And because that power we're not harnessing it, we're not learning how to generate it, we're not learning how to use it, we just keep falling short, Yeah, that was what he said to me. He was like, emotions are messy. They're messy and they're not fun. If you read that book, you get to see Baba's heart. You get to see the pain. Another thing I learned was that he is literally the longest standing steward of pain that exists. Baba. Both physical, emotional, all kinds of pain he has felt, and felt for a prolonged period of time, because mind you, he still has kids that don't care that they're his kids. They don't care. So I guess I just got to see him more. It taught me to see him a lot more. I feel like I said a lot. Romantic love is something that, it's powerful. Love is powerful. But if we do not understand it in the right context, if we do not understand our capacity in relation to it, we will cave. We will cave. And I'm not even saying, yes, one, to the fact that some people have missed their way because of the people that they chose finally to partner with, but more so in terms of how that can affect our connectivity. If your heart is weary, you will find it hard to connect with the Lord, to work, to chase your dreams, things of that nature, which is why we advise to guard our heart, because of the power that comes out of it. Out of it flows the issues of life. If we do not know our own power, our own capacity, we will fail. We will fail. And it's really not about knowing all of it. It's about being open to becoming acquainted with it all the time. Because you're going to meet different versions of yourself as life continues to go and as you grow. We must be open to malleability, to fluidity, to changing, to moving, things of that nature. I feel like I've said so much. I hope it makes sense. I really hope it does. Because I've had this conversation with the Lord so many times, like, on what I've learned from this situation. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. The human spirit is so powerful. I think that sometimes, I said that I was going to talk about this in another episode. I think this is the right time to share it. The vagabondness of Satan, basically. Another time, when I happened to be reading through the book of Genesis, I, for some reason, was fixated on the story of Cain and Abel. Cain killed his brother. Baba said, "Where's your brother?" Oga said, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Like a silly little... Anywho, that's not the point of this. And then, after doing that, right, Baba marked him and made him a vagabond and said, anybody that does this thing that you did, they will suffer a fate 7 times worse than you. So he began to wander. For some reason, I don't remember what version I was reading. I think it might have been amplified. And basically, when the Lord spoke to Cain and told him what his new life would become, he said, "You are removed from the express present." Oh my God, a cat. He was banished to wander. A lot of us don't understand that the fate that we will be signing off on, if we choose to abandon knowledge, the knowledge of who we really are, it will be 7 times worse than what Satan gets, because at least he was aware and he made that choice. A lot of us have not even come into the reality of who we are in Christ and who that makes us. We are heirs to an eternal throne. It will be worse for you because you were made of his fiber. You are meant to be just like him. That was what the Lord showed me when I read that story. That was why I call him a vagabond, because he is a wanderer. And you have to let wanderers wander. If they come where you are, you resist and you keep going. A lack of understanding, abandoning your identity can lead to a fate 7 times worse than that of the person who was originally supposed to bear the punishment. Lord have mercy. Satan, for a long time he's been a problem, but he's been a problem because we have lacked insight into who we are as gods on the earth, as sons of the living God, and as people who have his blood in us, his breath in us. Like, I feel like I ended the last episode talking about this as well, but yeah, it's like, if you know who your father is, it's kind of easier to trace things and understand why you do the things that you do, or you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's easier to live in general. I'm going to end with this scripture, 1 John 4:16-18. We have come to know by personal observation and experience, and have believed, this is the Amplified, and have believed with deep, consistent faith, the love which God has for us. God is love. And the one who abides in love abides in God, and God abides continually in him. In this union and fellowship with him, love is completed and perfected with us, so that we may have confidence in the day of judgment with assurance and boldness to face him, because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love. Dread does not exist. But perfect, complete, full-grown love drives out fear, because fear involves the expectation of divine punishment. So the one who is afraid of God's judgment is not perfected in love and has not grown into a sufficient understanding of God's love. Thought of the week. Healthy humans are very beautiful. They're fun to be around. Yeah. Okay, guys. I love you. I don't even think I introduced this. This has been the Seed Podcast, and I am your host, Ol'edo. Catch you in the next one. Bisous.
She steps out, walks with grace with her chest out.